The Orphan in the Shadows. The village of Ehanda sat quietly at the edge of the Mbale forest, its clay huts wrapped in the mist of dawn and the whispers of stories long passed down. Children ran barefoot across the dusty ground, laughter mixing with the clucking of hens and the chatter of market women. But not all laughter lived in Ehanda. For one boy, 14-year-old Sefiu, life was not a song of joy. Sefiu had once known love, the warm embrace of a mother, the firm guiding hand of a father. His parents were humble farmers, known for their generosity and kindness. They smiled with their eyes, danced during festivals, and sang lullabies that echoed through the night air. But all of that vanished in a single night, years ago. It was during the annual harvest feast when a traveler arrived in the village. He wore a red cloak, spoke little, and offered a basket of food as a gift to Sefiu's family, maize cakes, smoked meat, and a jug of sweet honey drink. That night, the family ate together under the stars. Sefiu, too young for the honey drink, had only a few bites before he was sent to bed early. By morning, his parents were dead. They were found lying side by side, peaceful but cold, without any visible wound. The villagers whispered of curses, poison, or punishment from spirits. But nothing was ever proven. The traveler was gone by sunrise, and with him, Sefiu's entire world. Left with no siblings or nearby kin, Sefiu was handed over to his only living relative, his uncle, Barisa, a man as cold as the grave. Barisa lived on the edge of the village in a crooked hut with a collapsed roof and a heart just as broken. He had once been a respected blacksmith, but drink and bitterness had turned him cruel. He saw Sefiu not as a child, but as free labor. From dawn until night, Sefiu toiled, cleaning, planting, caring, fetching, scrubbing. And when he made a mistake, Barosa's belt found his back. Still, Sefiu endured. What choice did he have? One evening, after a long day of working in the cassava fields, Sefiu's small body sagged with exhaustion. His palms were blistered, and his stomach growled, but when he returned home hoping for a bowl of porridge, Barisa met him at the doorway with a scowl. "You forgot the water." Barisa barked. I fetched it this morning," Sefiu stammered. "You let it sit too long. It's gone warm." "Do you want me to drink fire?" the man growled, his breath stinking of palm wine. He threw an old sack at the boy's feet. "Take the axe. Go to the forest. Bring me firewood. And don't return until your arms are full." Sefiu's heart sank. The sun was already bleeding into the hills, the sky turning gold, then orange. The Mbale forest was not a place one entered after dark. Elders told stories of spirits that wandered between the trees, restless souls, whispering voices, creatures with no shadows. "Please, uncle," he begged softly. "It's getting dark." Barosa's response was swift. A sharp slap across Sefiu's cheek. "You think I care? Move, or I'll send you without supper again." So, Sefiu obeyed. He took the small axe, grabbed the sack, and began the long walk toward the forest. His feet trembled with each step as the trees rose ahead like silent giants. The wind rustled through the tall grass, as if trying to warn him. By the time he reached the forest edge, night had fallen. Moonlight pierced through the thick canopy in pale silver rays. Owls hooted in the distance, and the croaking of frogs echoed near the stream. But something else stirred that night, something strange. As Sefiu wandered deeper, searching for fallen branches, he heard it. A voice. It was soft at first, barely above the rustle of leaves. A song. High and haunting, like a lullaby carried by the wind. Sefiu stopped in his tracks, his breath catching in his throat. The voice was female, young, but sorrowful. The lyrics, though foreign, carried a weight of pain and longing. His heart ached with every note. Sefiu followed the sound. Through twisted roots and low-hanging vines, he stepped carefully, drawn by the melody like a moth to flame. Then he saw it, a tall tree with silver bark, unlike any he had seen before. Its leaves shimmered like they were made of moonlight. Beneath it, the air felt different, as if the world had paused to listen. The song grew louder. The lyrics, though simple, pierced him. My heart was once warm, but now it is cold. I sang to be found, yet I'm lost and alone. Cephus, I searched for the singer, but saw no one. The tree stood still. No wind. No movement. Yet the voice continued, pouring sorrow into the night. He sat at the base of the tree, unsure if it was madness or magic. Was it a spirit? A ghost? Or just his tired mind playing tricks? The song shifted again. Betrayed by blood. My soul cannot rest. I sing through the trees, in search of a friend. Tears welled in Cephus' eyes, and he didn't know why. The voice, though unfamiliar, felt close, like it understood him. His own pain, the loneliness, the unanswered questions, they echoed in the song. He stayed there for what felt like hours, listening. By the time he remembered Barisa, the moon was high. He scrambled up, gathered a few fallen branches, and hurried home. Barisa was already asleep, snoring like a wild boar, a jug of wine at his side. Cephus quietly dropped the wood and curled up in a corner of the hut, his thin blanket barely covering his shivering body. But sleep did not come. The song played again in his mind, sweet, sorrowful, and strange. Who had sung it? Why was it coming from that tree? And why, deep in his heart, did he feel he had heard that voice before, the girl beneath the moon? The day passed like a stubborn shadow, slow and heavy. Cephus couldn't shake the memory of the song or the strange tree that seemed to breathe sorrow. Even as he pounded cassava and swept the yard under Barosa's grunts, the melody haunted him. It echoed in the clinking of pots, the whistling wind, and the soft murmurs of distant villagers. By evening, his heart was restless. He had to go back. But this time, he would not go alone, not entirely. Before the sun set, Cephus visited the tiny mud hut of Mzieo, the village herbalist. The old man was nearly blind, his skin wrinkled like dried tobacco leaves and his beard thick as goat's wool. He was known to speak with spirits, read dreams in fire ashes, and heal wounds no medicine could touch. Cephus approached with caution. Mzieo, he said softly, bowing. I need your help. The old man sat by his fire, stirring herbs into a cracked calabash. The forest sings to you, doesn't it? He said without turning. Cephus' eyes widened. How did you know? Mzieo smiled faintly. I've heard that song too. Many years ago. It's the cry of a soul trapped between worlds. A spirit. Yes. But not all spirits are evil, child. Some simply ache. Some wait to be heard. Cephus hesitated, then whispered, I want to see her, if she is real. The herbalist nodded slowly. He reached into a small wooden box and pulled out a dark, oily paste in a calabash bowl. Rub this on your eyelids when you reach the tree. It will open the eyes beneath your eyes. But be warned, what you see may not be for the faint-hearted. Cephus bowed deeply. Thank you, Mzi. Return before the third moonrise, the old man added. If you stay too long, the forest may forget which world you belong to. That night, Cephus slipped away from the hut once more, the charm tightly wrapped in banana leaf and tucked in his satchel. The male forest waited, silent and tall as ever. His feet knew the path now. Every root, every twisted vine, every whispering branch. As he neared the glowing tree, the song rose again, soft and sorrowful, wrapping itself around his chest like a vine of longing. He stopped a few steps away and unwrapped the charm. With trembling fingers, he dipped them into the paste and gently rubbed his eyelids. The mixture was cool at first, then burned like hot pepper. He winced, blinking rapidly as tears streamed down his cheeks. Then, the world changed. colors deepened. The air shimmered with gold threads he hadn't noticed before. And the tree, oh, the tree glowed like a silver flame under the moonlight. And beneath it sat a girl. She was no older than he was. Her skin was the color of copper dust, but faint, as though light passed through her. Her eyes were wide and filled with ancient sadness. Her black hair flowed like ink down her back, and even as she sang, tears slid silently down her cheeks. Sephew gasped aloud. The girl stopped singing and looked up. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "You can see me," she said, her voice like wind on water. He nodded, barely able to breathe. Who are you?" "I am Naya," she whispered. "Or I was." Sephew stepped closer, unsure if he was dreaming. "You're the one who sings every night." Naya nodded. "I sing so I won't disappear." He sat down slowly, still staring. You're beautiful." She smiled faintly, then looked away. "Beauty is useless when you are forgotten." They sat in silence, the moon casting shadows between them. Naya spoke first. "I died many seasons ago. I was betrayed by someone I loved. But my memory, it's broken. I don't know who. I just remember pain, and the feeling of being pulled into darkness." Sephew felt a tightness in his throat. "That's terrible." She looked at him. "You know pain too, don't you?" He lowered his eyes. "My parents died when I was little. My uncle, he doesn't treat me like family." Naya reached out her hand, but stopped short. Her fingers hovered in the air, inches from his, then passed through a falling leaf. "You're kind to come back," she said softly. "Most who hear me, run." "I couldn't run," Sephew said. "Your voice, it feels like someone is calling out from inside me." Night deepened, and the two spoke for hours. Naya told him of dreams she no longer understood, of running through tall grass, of bracelets made of shells, of a laugh that once made her feel safe. Sephew told her of his mother's lullabies, the way she hummed when she cooked, and how he still remembered the shape of her hands. They laughed too. Naya giggled when Sephew described the time a goat chased him up a mango tree. He laughed when she tried to mimic the way Mzieo walked with his staff like a dancing cane. Time melted around them. Each night after that, Sephew returned. Always with firewood, so Barisa wouldn't notice. Always with a charm to see her. They sat beneath the glowing tree. They shared stories, wishes, and sadness. Sephew taught Naya riddles, she taught him songs he had never heard. One night, she whispered a secret. When you sit with someone long enough, your souls start to know each other. He looked at her. "Do you think our souls know each other now?" She blushed, if a spirit could blush. Maybe, they always did. For the first time in years, Sephew felt alive. Not just breathing, but truly seen, like his heart mattered, like he was not alone in the world. One evening, as fireflies danced between them and the song of crickets rose in the air, Sephew leaned in. "Naya, I think I care about you." She looked up, her eyes shimmering like glass. "Even if I'm not whole." He nodded. "Especially then." She smiled, but there was sorrow behind it. "Be careful with your heart, Sephew," she whispered. "The forest remembers more than it shows. And love can awaken things that were meant to sleep." The words chilled him, though he didn't understand why. Still, he stayed. And when she sang that night, her voice was different, no longer just sorrow, but something sweeter. Hope. A song for the living. The village of Mibra buzzed with anticipation. Women strung colorful fabrics between tree trunks, men pounded drums deep into the night, and children danced barefoot through clouds of dust. Word had spread like wildfire, Queen Amora would be visiting for the royal festival, the first in over a decade. And with her visit came the chance of a lifetime. She would choose a voice of peace, a young villager whose song would be sung in the royal court and rewarded with silver, land, and schooling in the capital. The elders called it a divine blessing. For Sephew, it felt like a path carved from the stars. But he hesitated. He had never sung before a crowd. His voice was small, untrained, and cracked when he was nervous. Baesa, overhearing villagers discussing the festival, had only scoffed. "You sing before the queen. You're barely fit to carry firewood." Still, the thought wouldn't leave Sephew's heart. That night, under the familiar glow of the forest moon, Sephew sat beside the glowing tree, turning a smooth stone in his hand. Naya watched him, her translucent features etched with curiosity. "You're troubled," she said softly. Sephew nodded, unable to look her in the eye. "There's a festival. The queen is coming. They are choosing a singer." Naya tilted her head. "And you wish to sing?" "I do," he whispered. "But no one would listen to someone like me. I don't have a voice like yours. Mine fades." She studied him for a long time, the moonlight casting her form in a silvery glow. "But Sephew," she said, "it's not the loudest voice that reaches hearts, it's the truest." He looked up. "Do you think I could learn from you?" Naya smiled, a slow, radiant curve of her lips. "I was hoping you'd ask." And so began their secret nights of song. Naya sang melodies passed down from ancestors who lived long before the village had roads, before the forest was mapped. Songs of healing, of grief, of lost love and rising again. Her voice flowed like river water, and as Sephew listened, the notes began to take root inside him. At first, he struggled. His speech wavered. His breath ran short. But Naya was patient. She coaxed the music out of him like a spirit drawing fire from cold stone. "Close your eyes," she'd say. "Don't think, feel." By the end of each night, his voice rang clearer, stronger. The forest seemed to listen, the trees leaning ever so slightly toward their song. But something else listened too. It began with whispers. Faint, unintelligible murmurs heard in the stillness of dawn. Then came the animals, goats bolting from their pens, chickens clucking in frantic confusion. One night, a child awoke screaming, claiming to have seen a woman of wind hovering near the roof. The village began to murmur. Mischief spirits. Ancestral anger. Mzi-Eo must know something. And Sephew began to feel a chill even in the warmest part of the day. One evening, as he passed the herbalist's hut, Mzi-Eo called out without looking. "You've been walking in two words, Sephew." Sephew stopped, heart pounding. "I only go to the forest." The old man turned, his white eyes gleaming. "The forest is not what it was, child. It listens more than it speaks." Sephew hesitated. "Naya, she's not angry. She's kind." "She was kind," Eo said. "But spirits, even gentle ones, can change. When they feel love, they remember what it was to be alive. When they remember, they want more." Sephew clenched his fist. "She's not like that." "Are you sure?" "I love her." Eo looked at him with pity, not scorn. "Then you must protect her, and yourself. Spirits cannot stay. The longer you pull her into this world, the harder it will be for her to return." Sephew walked away in silence. But his chest burned with conflict. That night, as he reached the glowing tree, Naya was already waiting. She greeted him with a smile, but he noticed it didn't reach her eyes. "You've heard the whispers," she said quietly. He nodded. "Mzi-Eo says it's dangerous, what we're doing. That you might be changing." She turned her face toward the sky. "Maybe I am. Every time I sing with you, I remember something more. My mother's laugh. The feel of rain on my skin. The taste of roasted cassava." Her voice trembled. I don't want to forget again. He took her ghost-like hand in his, though it passed through like mist. Then sing with me. One last time, for the festival. Tears formed in her eyes. I want to. But Sephew, if you sing with my voice, you must carry more than my melody. You carry my sorrow. My rage. My love. He nodded, understanding in a way he couldn't explain. I'm not afraid. The night before the festival, they sang. The tree glowed brighter than ever. The forest fell silent. And when Sephew opened his mouth, his voice rang out like a bell from a forgotten temple, rich, sorrowful, and full of longing. Even the wind stopped to listen. The day of the royal festival arrived, the sky painted in bold blue and golden clouds. Queen Amora herself sat atop a raised dais of carved ivory and silk, her eyes fierce and intelligent. Villagers danced. Drums thundered. And then came the singers. Sephew stood at the back, heart in his throat, Naya's final song echoing in his ears. When his name was called, silence swept the crowd. He stepped forward barefoot, no ornaments, no family to cheer him on. Just the memory of a voice that lived beneath the moon. He began to sing. And the words seemed to stop. His voice, though small, carried far. Every note shimmered with longing, with love, with grief unspoken. The lyrics were in an ancient dialect only Mzi Eo recognized, words of a spirit calling home, of betrayal, of a life lost but not forgotten. Some wept openly. Others watched, frozen in awe. And Queen Amora closed her eyes. When the final note faded, the crowd remained silent for a full breath before bursting into applause. But Sephew didn't smile. Because in the wind, he heard something new. A cry. Not of joy, but of fear. Later that night, long after he had been named the Queen's Voice of Peace, after gifts and congratulations were heaped upon him, Sephew ran to the forest. The tree no longer glowed. Naya was not there. He called her name again and again. Finally, her voice rose faintly on the breeze. You sang too well, Sephew. You carried me too far. She appeared, but she was different, blurred, unstable, as though flickering between two worlds. I can't stay much longer, she whispered. He fell to his knees. No. We were just beginning. We were always ending, she said, her voice laced with sorrow. But I am grateful. Because of you, I remembered who I was. I felt love again. He reached for her, but his hands passed through. I love you, he whispered. Naya's eyes shimmered like stars. Then set me free, Sephew. And then, she was gone. A single petal fell from the tree. He picked it up and wept. Love, loss, and letting go. The festival fires had burned low by nightfall, their smoke curling into the sky like old spirits stretching toward the stars. The villagers of Mubara gathered before the Queen's platform, the air thick with incense, dust, and breathless anticipation. Children sat cross-legged, their eyes wide. Elders leaned forward on canes. Even the warriors fell quiet as the moon climbed high. Then came the moment they waited for. Sephew, son of no name, the chosen voice of peace, called the royal announcer, his voice echoing through the still night. Sephew stepped forward, barefoot, clad in a simple robe of back-dyed cloth. He carried no drum, no flute, only his voice and a soul full of memories. He stood in silence beneath the stars, the great tree of song far behind him in the forest, hidden and quiet. Then he began. It was a slow, mournful tune at first, a woman betrayed, a soul bound to earth, a love that bloomed beneath moonlight. His voice quivered on the first verse but strengthened with each breath. Notes rose and fell like waves, rippling through the village square. He sang of Naya. Her laughter. Her loneliness. The betrayal that broke her. He sang of the nights they shared, of the moments when time stopped and only two hearts remained, one living, one lost. As he sang, people began to weep. Some softly. Some openly, with faces buried in hands. Even Baesa, standing off to the side with arms crossed, wiped a tear when he thought no one was looking. Queen Amara sat unmoving, her face unreadable, her eyes locked on the boy with the spirit's voice. When the song ended, silence held the village in its palm. And then, applause. But Sefiu didn't bow. He stood with tears streaming down his cheeks and looked directly at the queen. "You promised a wish," he said. She nodded. "And you may have it." Sefiu didn't hesitate. "I wish for her soul, Naya's soul, to be freed from the forest. Let her find rest in the afterlife." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few villagers turned to one another, whispering, "He knew the ghost." The tree. The girl beneath the moon. Queen Amora's expression softened. She stood, regal and still, her dark cloak whispering against the wind. "Your wish is true," she said solemnly. "And so shall it be." She raised a hand, adorned with golden rings and feathers of the ibis, symbols of the afterlife. "Mzi Eo," she called. "Prepare the rite." That night, the queen and Mzi Eo led a sacred ceremony beneath the tree. Drums fell silent. Only bells rang, a soft, reverent sound that called to the spirits. The villagers gathered at the edge of the forest but did not cross the sacred line. Only Sefiu, the queen, and the old herbalist walked to the glowing tree, its light dim but still breathing. Mzi Eo scattered herbs, humming a deep, trembling chant that hadn't been sung in over 50 years. Queen Amora knelt and placed her hand on the tree's roots, whispering something no one else could hear. And Sefiu sang. One last time. The same song, but softer now. A farewell. A release. When he reached the final note, a breeze swept through the forest, warm, soft, and fragrant with flowers that hadn't bloomed in generations. And then, she appeared. Naya. Just as beautiful, just as translucent, but now shining with a light that came not from the moon, but from peace. She walked slowly toward him. Sefiu stood frozen, heartbreaking and blooming all at once. "I heard your song," she whispered, her voice like wind through reeds. "You kept your promise." He nodded, his throat tight. "I remember everything now," she said. "Even the betrayal. Even the pain. But your love gave me more than memory. It gave me peace." She leaned forward and pressed a kiss to his forehead. It was the first time he ever truly felt her. Warm. Real. Full of light. "Thank you," she said, tears in her eyes. "Now I can go." As dawn broke on the horizon, light spilled through the forest in golden waves. Naya faded like mist under sunlight, smiling, whole and free. The tree never sang again. The forest fell into a quiet stillness, not haunted, but peaceful, like a heart that had finally stopped bleeding. And Sefiu. He did not leave with the queen. Though she offered him silver and schooling, a place in her court, and praise he had never dreamed of, he chose to remain. He returned to Mzi Eo's hut and asked to learn the way of the healer. With time, the villagers no longer whispered behind his back. They came to him for cures, for songs that healed restless minds and grieving hearts. He sang softly to crying babies, to dying elders, to broken lovers. And when people asked where his songs came from, he'd smile gently and say, from someone who knew sorrow and still chose to sing. Years passed. The village grew, the tree aged, and memories faded into story. But every so often, on a clear night when the moon was full and the wind was kind, Sefiu would walk to the forest edge. He'd sit quietly. And sing. Not for anyone else. Not for reward or title. But for her. A song of love. Of loss. Of letting go. The end.